Well, unfortunately, Walter Scott was gunned down by Officer Slager. He was just an innocent, unarmed black man. Stop making excuses for these people. This affirms the mindset in people that they can get away with things and keep pushing the line, because the enabling culture is sold on the idea that the cops are evil and black folks are just victims. So you can just go ahead and do you. F the police. If the cops cross you, we'll get Al Sharpton. This is getting people killed when it doesn't have to be.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
As I was saying, people are making excuses for people who break the law, and people are feeling like they're entitled to get away with whatever they want. And if the cops confront them on it, it's racist. You know, you can't keep using a credit card without having to pay up on it, right? Well, you can't keep using a race card without having to pay up on it at some point too. And using a race card to pay for excuses for people who break the law will end up costing them. And you're gonna be mad when they get collected on, when you should have been saying, won't you act right? It's obvious that Walter Scott kept trying to get away with breaking the law. And we've got a culture making excuses for this kind of behavior, and then want to blame the police when it catches up with them. Instead of looking at the suspect's behavior, they blame the popo. Everything is the cop didn't have to do this. Everything is the cop didn't have to do that. No matter what amount of force was used, the cop didn't have to shoot him. The cop didn't have to tase him. The cop didn't have to have so many cops. The cops didn't have to pepper spray him. The cop didn't have to use his stick. The cop didn't have to tackle him like that. The cop didn't have to talk to him like that. The cop didn't have to be asking to see his ID. The cop didn't need to search you. The cop didn't have to write me a ticket. The cop didn't have to pull me over, as demonstrated by professional victim Chris Rock, who whines on Twitter about him being pulled over. Chris Rock, who I guess a while back did this amazing video telling other people how to behave when getting pulled over by the cops, and then whines when he gets pulled over. Anyway, I guess cops should be paid to do nothing then. They can just give them a job title and collect a welfare check for it, because it's like they're not allowed to do anything. It seems that everything the cop does is taken as an offense no matter what it is. And after all of what people say the cop didn't have to do, they say the cop should have done the things that they just said the cop didn't have to do. If a cop shoots somebody, they say, well, the cop could have tased them. And if the cop tases, then they say the cop could have sprayed them, and so on. Here's an idea. Instead of always talking about what the cops should have or shouldn't have done, which makes the criminal more emboldened to break the law, how about we get down to what the suspects shouldn't have done to put themselves in a situation in question in the first place? Walter Scott shouldn't have been ignoring his responsibility to his kids and trying to get away with it. He had no excuse for it. It wasn't like he didn't have the money. Reports say that at the time Scott was stopped, a father of four who worked as a warehouse forklift operator owed more than $18,000 in child support and court fees. According to Charleston County records, he last paid child support in 2012, and a bench warrant for his arrest was issued in early 2013. Scott had been in jail 3 times since 2008. He had trouble keeping up with the payments, that's all, and he knew he would go to jail, his older brother Rodney Scott said. His mission was to avoid the police as much as possible. Rodney Scott said his brother would take long detours while driving to their parents' house because he thought there would be more police patrolling the direct 10-minute route from his home. Anthony Atkinson, another forklift operator, said they had barely met when Scott gave him $100 to pay attorney fees he owed. He said, don't worry about paying it back. So he's got money to just give to other people, but he didn't have money for his kids. So if we're talking about what someone should have done or what they shouldn't have done, he shouldn't have been holding out on his child support. He's got 4 kids, and I think only one of them was a minor anyways for child support at that point. Then again, I don't know how child support works now. If you can be on your parents' insurance until you're 26, I reckon you'd be forced to pay for child support until your kid's like 35. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay for him to ignore his child support payments. Walter Scott also shouldn't have been driving around in a car he couldn't prove was his. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay. Walter Scott shouldn't have taken off running from that car he couldn't prove was his. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay. Walter Scott should not have resisted arrest when Slager caught him. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay. Walter Scott should not have taken possession of Slager's taser in the struggle he should not have been engaged in the first place. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay. Walter Scott should not have shot a police officer with the taser. But Walter Scott shouldn't have been shot, so that makes it okay. Walter Scott should not have assaulted a cop and then tried to continue running. If you assault a cop because you don't want to go to jail, because you didn't want to pay your child support, then I'm thinking you're the one with the bad decision making, not the cop. And if I were a cop and a suspect is going to fight me while I'm trying to make an arrest, take one of my weapons and shoot me with it just because they may face some jail time, then I'm thinking this person ain't stable. And if he'll do this to a police officer, knowing the consequences of it, he most certainly won't think twice about whom else he would assault to hide from the law if he thinks someone's getting in his way. People are saying the cops already knew how to find him. The cops could have just let him go. Walter Scott freaked out because he faced going to jail for ditching on child support. He's already proved that he's willing to be hostile over that, which means he's going to be that much more fearful of going to jail with a charge of assaulting a police officer, which makes him even more dangerous. But you say let him go. You just want to stick to the narrative that gets black men killed while wanting to be indignant about it, so you can get your rocks off on feeling like you're part of the victim population that's gonna overcome. The busting already came and gone. People want to keep racism going. They don't care about the facts or what's right in front of them. They'll make up something else. Like this comment against Will Stack, who posted a video basically saying this race-baiting nonsense has to stop. Not all cops are crooked, and not all black folks are crooked. Not all white people are racist, and you can find good and bad in every group. Great message that for the most part was well received. But then you'll get comments like this from CM Man. Stacks is driving his car and recording a video with one hand on the steering wheel, yet no one, white people, responding sees anything wrong with his actions because he is, well, sort of Uncle Tomming. This dude doesn't care about the facts. He just wants to call him an Uncle Tom. If you watch the video, he's not driving anywhere. But seeing Man wants to use an epithet so bad and wants to race bait so bad and project racism so bad that it stimulates his imagination to see Will Stack as driving when his car isn't even moving. This is the car at 10 seconds. Here's the car at 2 minutes, 9 seconds. The car didn't go anywhere. And people will do the same thing with the video that came out proving Walter Scott got a hold of Steger's taser and shot him with it. The denial will override reason, and they'll stick to their addiction of making this about race. And making it about race ultimately equals more power to the state and more wealth for the liberal elite. People accuse me of getting paid off for saying what I say. I've been saying what I say long before I ever got paid for it. And what I say is about conserving the balance of freedom. But it's okay for Al Sharpton to get paid for upsetting the balance of freedom and giving the state more power over the people. Al Sharpton and liberals try to call us conservative Republicans Nazis. Meanwhile, they're the ones who have the most in common with Nazis, including the fact that Al Sharpton is using this incident involving Walter Scott to promote the idea that our police force should be nationalized. Guess the liberals missed that part about the Gestapo being the Nazis' nationalized police force too. Liberals love nationalizing and socializing things, just like the Nazi National German Socialist Workers' Party. And what was a highly flammable fuel in the engine of the Nazi objective? Racism. What's a highly flammable fuel in the engine of liberalism wanting to achieve their socialist objective? Racism. Even the person who videoed the incident wants to keep racism going. Peyton Santana recorded it and felt like he had to step up and do his part against police brutality. And against his fears, he took the video to Scott's family so they could have more evidence of the shooting. But by doing that, Peyton Santana introduced video against Walter Scott because Peyton Santana's recording revealed that Slager was struck by the taser prongs fired by Walter Scott. But I get it. Suggesting to black folks that you shouldn't do illegal things is racist, and making excuses for them as they put themselves in opposition with the law that could get them shot isn't racist. Okay. I'm Alfonso Rachel with ZoNation, and if you've been stopped by a cop and are allowed to tell about it because perhaps you didn't try to assault them or something or were, dare I say, civil, leave a comment. Won't you act right?